Hello learners, I am Dr. Arunkumar, faculty member, School of Management, SASTRA team, University. In this course, Research Methodology for Business Research, I am going to talk about theory building in this session. Let us look at the learning outcome of this session, defining the meaning of theory, understanding the goals of theory, and understand the terms, concepts, propositions, variables, and hypotheses. And also we will be discussing how theories are developed, and also we will understand the scientific method employed in research in the case of theory building. So the purpose of the science concerns the expansion of knowledge and the search for truth. Theory building is the means by which a basic researcher hope to achieve this purpose. Students sometimes think their classes or course material are too theoretical or lacking practical application. However, this should certainly not be the case. Theories are simply generalizations that help us better understand reality. Furthermore, theories allow us to understand the logic behind things we observe. If a theory does not hold true in practice, then the theory holds no value. So this session, I think I am trying to provide you a fundamental knowledge of theory development, and some terminology regarding theory necessary for business research. So let us understand what is a theory. If you look at the definition, like all abstraction, the word theory has been used in many different ways, in many different contexts, at times so broadly as to include almost all descriptive statements about a class of phenomena, and other times so narrowly as to exclude everything but a series of terms and their relationship that satisfy certain logical requirements. So a theory consists of a coherent set of general propositions that offer an explanation of some phenomena by describing the way other things correspond to the phenomena. Let us put it in another way. A theory is a formal, testable explanation of some events that includes explanation of how things relate to one another. A theory can be built through a process of reviewing previous findings of similar studies, simple logical deduction, or knowledge of applicable theoretical areas. Let me give you an example. For example, if a web designer is trying to decide what color background is most effective in increasing online sales, he may first consult previous studies examining the effects of color on package design and retail store design. He may also find theories that deal with the wavelength of different colors, affective response to colors, or those that explain retail atmospherics. This may lead to the specific prediction that the blue is the most effective background color for a website. Hope you understand through this input of my example that the relevance of theory in research. And while it may seem that theory is the only relevant to academic or basic business research, theory plays a role in understanding practical research as well. Before setting research objectives, the researcher must be able to describe the business situation in some coherent way. Without this type of explanation, the researcher would have little idea of where to start. Ultimately, the logical explanation helps the researcher know what variables need to be included in the study and how they may relate to one another. The researcher snapshot uh, of the variables, concepts, and ideas is very important in the process of theory building. So, hope the definition of given by Carr or Popper, theories are nets cast to catch what we call the world, to rationalize, to explain, and to master it. We endeavor to make the mesh ever finer and finer. So we can have many definitions of theory that I am displaying it here now. I think with this, hope you understand a little fundamental clarity on what is theory. So let us talk about what are the goals of theory, what are the purpose of theory. Suppose a researcher is investigating business phenomena, wants to know what caused the financial crisis. Another person wants to know if organizational structure influences a leadership style. Both of these individuals want to gain a better understanding of the environment and be able to predict behavior, to be able to say that if we take a particular course of action, we can expect a specific outcome to occur. These two issues, understanding and predicting, okay, are the two purposes of theory, accomplishing the first goals. The first goal allows the theorist to gain an understanding of the relationship among various phenomena. For example, a financial advisor may believe or theorize that older investors tend to be more interested in investments income than younger investors. This theory, once verified, would then allow her to predict the importance of expected dividend yield based on the age of her customer. Thus, a theory enables us to predict the behavior or characteristics of one phenomenon from the knowledge of another phenomenon. The value of understanding and anticipating future conditions in the environment or in an organization should be obvious. In most situations, of course, understanding the prediction go hand in hand. To predict phenomena, we must have an explanation of why variables behave as they do. So that's why theories provide these explanations. So from these, let us infer theory, a coherent set of general propositions used as principles of explanation of apparent relationship of certain observed phenomena. Clear? So hope this definition makes you clear about what you intend to learn. Let's understand, research concepts, constructs, propositions, variables, and hypotheses one by one. So we all know that theory development is essentially a process of describing phenomena at increasing higher levels of abstractions. In other words, as a business researchers, we need to be able to think of things in a very abstract manner, but eventually link these abstract concepts to observable reality. To understand theory and the business research process, it will be useful to know different terminologies and how these terms relate. So, moving further, let us understand the research concept and construct. A concept or a construct is a generalized idea about a class of objects or attributes, occurrences, or processes that has been given a name. If you as an organizational theorist were to describe phenomena such as supervisory behavior or risk aversion, you would categorize empirical events or real things into concepts. So concepts are the building blocks of theory. in organizational theory leadership, productivity, and moral or concepts. In the theory of finance, gross national product, risk aversion, and inflation are frequently used concepts. According to concepts include asset liabilities and depreciation. In marketing, customer satisfaction, market share, and loyalty, service quality are the important concepts. So, concepts abstract reality. That is, concepts express in words various events or objects. Concepts, however, may vary in degree of abstraction. For example, the concept of an asset is an abstract term that may, in the concrete world of reality, refer to a wide variety of things, including a specific punch press machine in a production shop. So, the basic of our scientific business research operates at two levels. That is, the basic or scientific business researcher actually operate at two levels. On the abstract level of concepts and propositions, and on the empirical level of variables and hypotheses. At the empirical level, we experience reality, that is, we observe, measure, or manipulate objects or events. For example, we commonly use the term job performance, but this is an abstract term that can mean different things to different people or different situations. To move to the the empirical level, we must more clearly define this construct and identify the actual measures that we can assess and measure to represent job performance. I can show you. Yeah. In research, we use the term latent construct to refer a concept that is not directly observable or measurable, but can be estimated through proxy measures. So, job performance, customer satisfaction, and risk aversion are just three examples of the many latent construct in business research. While we cannot, directly see the latent construct because of the fact that we can measure them, and doing so in one of the greatest challenges for business research. If an organizational research says older workers prefer different rewards than younger workers, two concepts, age of the worker and reward performance, are the subjects of this abstract statement. So, if the researcher wishes to test the relationship and excuse me. As I said earlier, if the researcher wishes to test this relationship, the researcher, along with other workers, may be questioned about their preference for salary, retirement plans, intrinsic job satisfaction, and so forth. Recording their ages and assessing their reward preferences or activities that occur at an empirical level. So in this example, we can see that the researcher have much easier time assessing and measuring age than the latent construct of the reward preference. Clear? Researcher basically are concerned with the observable world, or what we shall loosely term reality. Uh, Theories translate their conceptualization of reality into abstract ideas. Thus, the theory deals with abstraction. Things are not the essence of theory. Ideas or concepts in isolation are not theories. To construct a theory, we must explain how concepts relate to other concepts. That is very much essential. So, if you look at this definition, again, a coherent set of general proposition used as a principle of explanation of the apparent relationship of certain observed phenomena. So, in this context, we need to understand the concept of research proposition and hypothesis. Now, let's understand, the proposition and hypothesis. Uh, I was mentioning that concepts are the basic units of theory development. However, theories requires an understanding of the relationship among the concepts. Thus, once the concept of interest have been identified, a researcher is interested in the relationship among these concepts. Propositions, when you look at propositions are statements concerned with the relationship among the concepts. A proposition explains the logical linkage among certain concepts by asserting a universal connection between concepts. I can quote an example here. We might propose that testing our employees better will make them more loyal employees. This is certainly a logical link between managerial actions and employee reactions, but it's quite general and not really testable in its current form. So let us also understand what is an hypothesis is all about. A hypothesis is a formal statement explaining some outcome. In its simplest form, a hypothesis is a guess. The sales manager may hypothesize that the salespeople who are highest in product knowledge will be most productive. An advertising manager may hypothesize that if consumers' attitude toward a product change in a very positive direction, there will be an increase in consumption of the product. A human resource manager may hypothesize that the job candidate with certain majors will be more successful employees. Hope with this example, hope you understand what is an hypothesis. And also, if you look at that, and a hypothesis is a proposition that is empirically testable. In other words, when one states a hypothesis, it should be written in a manner that can be supported or shown to be wrong through an empirical test. For example, using the color of the background for a website discussed, I think I was quoting an example earlier. The researcher may use theoretical reasoning to developing the following hypothesis. That is, a website with a blue background. I mean, we can go for alternative hypothesis. That is, a website with a blue background will generate more sales than an otherwise identified website with a red background. Hope with this example you guys understand what is an hypothesis. And also, a variable is anything that may assume different numerical values because of the fact that variables are varying. The perceptual score taken from the respondents may vary. That's why these items, which is subject to varying in the score, is called variable. So in our discussion, I think I was quoting retirement benefits and intentions to leave are variables reflecting the concepts of employee treatment and employee loyalty. When the data are consistent with the hypothesis, we say that the hypothesis is supported. When the data are inconsistent with the hypothesis, we say the hypothesis is not supported. We are often tempted to say that we prove a hypothesis when the data confirms to the prediction, but this is not really true because our result is based on statistics. There is always the possibility that our conclusion is wrong. Now, at times, we can be very, very confident in our conclusion, but from an absolute perspective, statistics cannot prove a hypothesis is true. So this has to be taken for your valuable learning. Next, what we're supposed to do is operationalizing the variables. Operationalizing is nothing but the process of identifying the actual measurement scales to assess the variables of interest. Because variables are at the empirical level, variables can be measured. In this case, retirement benefits might be measured quite easily and precisely. Example, the actual percentage change in matching retirement funds, while the latent construct of intention to leave would be more challenging for the researcher. This step is known as operationalizing our variable, the process of identifying the actual measurement scale to assess the variable of interest. So, to conclude, the empirical and the abstract conceptual, the empirical aspect is primarily concerned with the facts of the science as revealed by the observation and experiments. The abstract or theoretical aspect, on the other hand, consists in a serious attempt to understand the facts of the science and to integrate them into a coherent, that is a logical system. From these observations and integrations are derived directly or indirectly the basic laws of the science. So hope we understand. So what is basically propositions, hypotheses, and through hypothesis empirical testing, variables, and operationalizing the variables. Okay. Next one is let us try to understand theory in a better sense. In the case of the movement of employees to other organizations, two concepts, that is the perceived desirability of the movement to another organization, the perceived ease of movement from the present job, are expected to be the primary determinants of intention to quit. This is a proposition. Further, the concept intention to quit is expected to be a necessary condition for actual voluntary job turnover behavior to occur. This is the second proposition that links concepts together in this theory. In the more elaborate theory, job performance is another concept considered to be the primary determining influencing both perceived ease of movement and perceived desirability of movement. Moreover, perceived ease of movement is related to other concepts such as labor market conditions, number of organizations visible to the individual, and personal characteristics. So perceived desirability of movement is influenced by concepts such as equity of pay or job complexity and participation in decision making, all that. The complete explanation of this theory is not possible without this explanation what I was giving you. So basically, we need to understand all these elements which explains the theory. Now let us look at the theory building exercise. So you may be wondering, where do theories come from? Although this is not an easy question to answer in this session, in a brief manner, we will explore more through some examples. Theory has been explained at the abstract, conceptual level and at the empirical level. If you ask me, theory generation may occur at either level. At the abstract conceptual level, a theory may be developed with the deductive reasoning by going from general statement to specific assertion. Let me clarify what is deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is the logical process of deriving a conclusion about a specific instances based on a known general premise of or something known to be true. For example, while you might occasionally have doubts, we know that all business professors are human beings. If you also know that Philip Kotler is a business professor, marketing professor, then we can deduce that Philip Kotler is a human being. So that is about the deductive reasoning. Next one is at the inductive reasoning. Let's understand inductive reasoning. At the empirical level, a theory may be developed with inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is the logical process of establishing a general proposition on the basis of observation of particular facts. All business professors that have ever been seen are human beings. Therefore, all business professors are human beings. So, hope through this example, I think you understand the process of theory building using deductive and inductive reasoning. Yeah. So, in nutshell, inductive reasoning, the logical process of establishing a general proposition on the basis of observation of particular facts. As I said, all managers that ever been seen on human beings. Therefore, all business managers are human beings. As part of theory building and development, let us also look at the scientific method of theory building. The scientific method is a set of prescribed procedure for establishing and connecting theoretical statement about events, for analyzing empirical evidences, and for predicting events yet unknown. It is useful to look at the analytical process of scientific theory building as a series of stages. While there is not complete consensus concerning exact procedures for the scientific method, I think I suggest 7 operations may be viewed as the steps involved in the application of scientific method. See, one is the assessment of relevant existing knowledge of the phenomena. Next one is the formulation of concepts and proposition. And the next one is the statement of hypothesis. And the next one is design of the researcher to test the hypothesis. And the fifth one, the acquisition of meaningful empirical data. Now, the sixth one is the analysis and evaluation of data. And the seventh one is the proposal of an explanation of the phenomena and statement of new problems raised by the researcher. Okay, so that's where we try to build a theory based on this scientific method. I think I had given you an overview about how theory has been developed. Okay, so let me give you a summarized view about. First, I start the session stating that theories are simply models designed to help us better understand reality and to understand the logic behind things we observe. The theory is a formal, logical explanation of some events that includes predictions of things related to one another. And next one is I was explaining understanding the goals of theory. There are two primary goals of the theory. Let me recap. The first is to understand the relationship among various phenomena. The theory provides a picture of the linkage among different concepts, allowing us to better comprehend how they affect one another. The second goal is to predict, once we have an understanding of the relationship among concepts, we can then predict what will happen if we change one factor. For example, if we understand the relationship between advertising expenditure and retail sales, I think we can then predict the impact of decreasing or increasing our advertising expenditure. So I was explaining in this session about the meaning of theory and also the understanding the goals of the theory, and also I explained you about I'm making you understand the terms, concept, propositions, variables, and hypotheses. To recap about these terms, a concept or a construct is a generalized idea about a class of objects, attributes, occurrences, or processes that has been given a name. Leadership style, employee turnover, and customer satisfaction are all concepts. Concepts express in words various events or objects. And in case of proposition are statements concerned with the relationship among concepts. A proposition explains the logical linkage among certain concepts by asserting an universal connection between concepts. We can quote like leadership style is related to employee turnover. A hypothesis is a formal statement explaining some outcome regarding variables of interest. Variables are the empirical reflection. We should also understand what is a variable. I was giving you detailed explanation in this session. So variables are the empirical reflection of a concept, and a hypothesis is a proposition stated in a testable format. So concepts and proposition are at the abstract level, while variables and hypotheses are at the empirical level. And also in this session I explained about how theories are developed. So if you to recap, the theory can be built through a process of reviewing previous findings of similar studies, or knowledge of applicable theoretical areas. A theory may be developed with the deductive reasoning by going from a general statement to a specific assertion. Deductive reasoning is the logical process of deriving a conclusion about a specific instance based on a known general premise or something known to be true. And in case of inductive reasoning, is the logical process of establishing a general proposition on the basis of observation of a particular fact. So, understanding the scientific method, and in this session, finally, I was discussing about the giving you an overview of the scientific method. So let us recap on that. The scientific method is a set of prescribed procedures for establishing and connecting theoretical statements about events, for analyzing empirical evidence and for predicting events yet unknown. It is useful to look at the analytical process of scientific theory building as a series of stages. I mentioned the 7 operations may be viewed as the steps involved in the application of the scientific method. This is displayed here. That is assessment of relevant existing knowledge of a phenomenon. Number 2 is the formulation of concepts and proposition. Number 3, statement of hypothesis. Number 4, design of research to test the hypothesis. Number 5 is the acquisition of meaningful empirical data. And number 6 is the analysis and evaluation of the data. And number 7 is the proposal of an explanation of the phenomena and statement of new problems raised by the researcher. In sum, the scientific methods guide us from the abstract nature of the concepts and proposition to the empirical variables and hypotheses, and to the testing and verification of theories. Dear learners, hope with this valuable inputs, hope you are very clear about the role of theory in research. Thank you so much.